Good afternoon, everyone. In keeping with our Quaker tradition, I would like to invite you to begin the program by joining me in a moment of silence. I know for many this ideal of a moment of silence will be a new practice. The purpose of this silence is to prepare us to come together from our many diverse backgrounds and traditions into a shared space of deep reflection and community. It is a time for each of us to center and collect ourselves and prepare to listen and be fully present in this moment. Please join me in a moment of silence. Welcome, class of 2024. My name is Karen Henry, class of 1987, and I'm the Dean of First Year Students and Director of First Gen and Low Income Student Initiatives. Welcome to orientation. You have taken placement exams, attempted to sign into Zoom to attend the academic fair, you've met with your advisor and registered for classes. You have already done so much, but I am excited to join you for the first gathering of the class of 2024. Over the next couple of days, we will ask you to reflect on your own values and experiences. You will be challenged by your classmates to see things in a different way. As you join this community, you will encounter both in and outside of the classroom points of view, ideas, and values that are different from your own. Orientation is an opportunity for you to learn more about yourself, our Swarthmore community values, and our Quaker heritage. Today and throughout orientation, we will introduce you to one aspect of Quaker tradition, the concept of queries. Queries are questions that guide personal and group reflection. We want to introduce you to 3 queries that we have been carefully selected to help guide your reflection over the course of the next couple of days, and we hope that you will return often to these queries throughout your time at the college. Quakers believe that returning repeatedly to the same prompt for deep reflection can set the stage for new understanding, changes of heart, and a greater sense of work that needs to be done. The queries are, given this time of uncertainty, what have I learned about myself? What have I lost and what have I gained? How can I bring those experiences and perspectives to this new experience? What is my role and position in systems that perpetuate racial injustice? What does it mean to live in community with others? What are my personal responsibilities to the Swarthmore community? How do I contribute to the common good? Now you will hear reflections on these queries from several members of our community, including President Valerie Smith, Grace Dumdahl, class of 2021, Catherine Riley, class of 2010, Assistant Professor of Analytical Chemistry, and Bohee Yoon, class of 2001, President of Alumni Council. Now it's my pleasure to welcome our first speaker.
I'm delighted to welcome the great class of 2024 to Swarthmore College. I join with Swarthmore's faculty, staff, sophomores, juniors, seniors, and alumni in saying that we are thrilled that you have chosen to become a member of this community, and we look forward to getting to know you. Since we entered this period of remote teaching, learning, and working back in March, few of us have seen each other in person. Not surprisingly, we miss hugging and shaking hands, catching up on each other's news, asking about the summer and plans for the new academic year. We especially miss meeting you, and we miss witnessing and participating in the in-person rituals of the start of the academic year. The crush of families unpacking belongings, decorating the room, and then saying goodbye to their students, of roommates meeting each other for the first time, of teammates beginning to practice together and getting to know each other and their coaches, of students meeting their professors, advisors, and the staff members who will teach them and accompany them along their college journey. And speaking of in-person rituals, ordinarily at first gathering, you would be looking around the room at each other, asking yourselves who these strangers are and wondering what kinds of relationships you would forge with them during the next 4 years. I miss those in-person rituals at least as much as you do. It is such an inspiration to meet and get to know each cohort of new students. Our interest in you as individuals, our commitment to you, and our desire to see you flourish motivates all that we do. Whether you're on campus or studying remotely, you are beginning your college career at a moment and in a manner different from any other. During the past 6 months, you've experienced extraordinary disruption, a global pandemic, renewed social and political activism in the cause of racial justice, and a dramatic economic downturn. Primarily, but not exclusively because of the pandemic, every aspect of our shared lives has changed. Economic, social, educational, recreational, and more. If you're like me, in the early days of the lockdown, you were waiting for things to return to normal. But as days turned to weeks and weeks turned to months, we began to realize that we have absolutely no idea when things will change, when, or perhaps even if, things will return to normal. For many of us, that recognition can be dispiriting. Some are angry about the changes forced upon us and want all of this to go away. And I completely understand that feeling. Who among us doesn't miss the opportunity to hug loved ones, to be in a classroom or lecture hall with professors and fellow students, to go to parties or concerts, to eat in restaurants, to visit elderly relatives, to go to arts performances, to go to a movie theater? Who among us would not prefer to leave home without wearing a mask? And yet we know that to do any of these things is dangerous. And if we do them too soon or without taking appropriate precautions, we risk our own health, our own lives, and we risk the health and the lives of others. So there is cause to feel dispirited. But we don't have to wallow in sadness and grief. And I don't want to focus on what we have lost or what we are missing because of the pandemic. Instead, I want to focus on what this time has taught us. It has taught us that even in the midst of disruption, we have choices, and we can choose to approach this time as a moment of opportunity. We can grieve what we miss and those we have lost, but we can also see this as a time for self-discovery, a chance to create the next chapter of our individual and collective lives. What have you learned in the 6 months since your life has been upended? What has motivated and inspired you? What has filled in the spaces your habitual activities used to occupy? Perhaps this disruption gave you more time to spend with loved ones, getting to know one another in new ways, discussing the challenges of the current moment, sharing family stories, working together to sustain the needs of your household. Perhaps it has caused you to appreciate more deeply the sources of joy that have not been taken away, the beauty of nature, your favorite walks, the transcendent power of artistic creativity, your passion for reading, the random acts of kindness you can extend and receive. Perhaps it slowed the pace of your life, providing opportunities for more regular exercise, for meditation, for learning a new skill, or pursuing an interest. Yours is not the first generation to begin college during a period of disruption. In the 1940s, many young men delayed the start of college or had their college experience interrupted because they were drafted into World War II. In the 1960s, Black students interrupted their studies to join the fight for freedom and justice, and white college students from around the country put their bodies on the line to support the struggle. Indeed, throughout that turbulent decade, students in many institutions redefined their relationship to and responsibility for the larger society. We will forever feel the ripple effects of those significant moments in history. And with the pandemic, the economic downturn, renewed social activism, and the worsening climate crisis, your generation faces an inflection point that promises to be at least equally transformative, if not more so. Solving such complex problems depends on our willingness to understand the experience of and work collaboratively with those who differ from us due to race, ethnicity, religion, class, sexual and gender identity, political ideology, and other categories of experience. It depends on our willingness to engage deeply and critically with knowledge and information gleaned from a range of disciplines in the sciences, the social sciences, and the arts and humanities. And it depends on our willingness to cultivate a spirit of empathy and grace, extending our gratitude to those whose work keeps us safe and well and enables our society to function. Despite the daunting challenges, despite all the negative news, the seemingly relentless barrage of negative headlines that come our way, I remain hopeful. Just beyond those front-page headlines are stories about the ways young people have contributed to the common good during this critical time. Some are organizing for racial or environmental justice. Some are working on political campaigns or get-out-the-vote initiatives. Some are volunteering to deliver groceries, medications, or other necessities to those who are homebound. Some are repurposing fabric to make masks to be donated to those who need them. Part of the reason you're here at Swarthmore is because you've demonstrated that you care for others, that you have a strong sense of empathy, that you're committed to collaboration and creative problem solving in order to make the world better. As you begin your college career, I invite you to carry that spirit forward. In fact, those characteristics are perhaps more important now than at any time in recent memory. For those of you who are beginning the academic year on campus in person, bear the responsibility for your own health and safety and the health and safety of others. By accepting the invitation to live on campus, you are agreeing to live with others with intention. You are agreeing to observe health and safety protocols, such as wearing a face covering when you leave your room, washing your hands frequently, maintaining physical distance from others, and so on. Your vigilance protects yourself, your fellow students, and the staff and faculty who will be on campus to support your experience. Keeping our community safe will require that same spirit of empathy and care for others, that same creative problem solving you've shown us you are capable of. Now, while we need you to be intentional about your own and the community's health and safety, I invite you to be creative about the possibilities that are open to you. How will you build community and have fun even though you must maintain physical distance from other people? With everyone living in single rooms, how will you get comfortable with your own company and learn the difference between loneliness and aloneness? And how will you build an identity as a class when many of you are here on campus, but a significant number have chosen to take a gap semester? None of us knows the answers to these and to so many other questions, but together we will figure it out. I welcome you into this new experiment into what living in community means. I'm excited to learn about all the ways you will define what the new normal looks like for yourselves and begin to lay the foundation for what it will mean for future generations of students. You are the pioneers, the architects, if you will, of the next generation of higher education, the next generation of Swarthmore College, the next era of our society. What do you want that to look like? Who do you want to be?
Welcome, class of 2024. I am Professor Catherine Riley, and I teach in the Chemistry and Biochemistry department. I am also a Swarthmore alum and was in your shoes what seems like only a few years ago. What a thrilling time for you as you begin your Swarthmore career. You might be feeling excited, nervous, anxious. I am too. You might also be feeling exhausted. I am too. What a challenge these last few months have presented us all. We are living in an extraordinary moment in time that has called us to lean into uncertainty in a way many of us have never had to before. I hope to have the opportunity to engage with many of you over your 4 years at Swarthmore. Something that you will learn about me pretty quickly is that I am highly organized and I am a planner. I like order, I like discipline. Notice how you didn't hear the phrase, deals well with uncertainty. Right. I've actually taken the same BuzzFeed quiz at least 3 times now since March. It's the one called, "We know what you need in your life right now based on your quarantine routine." My result each time? A plan for creating structure. Thanks, BuzzFeed. Understood. The irony of this result is not lost on me. The self-proclaimed planner needs a plan for creating structure. But how do you create structure when the landscape is constantly shifting under you? Sometimes you don't. That's not to say that you don't need structure or a plan at all, but the current moment requires much more flexibility and more willingness to let go of our carefully laid out plans and respond to what's presented to us each day. And if there's one thing I've learned about myself over these past few months, it's that while I'd much prefer to live in the space of carefully laid out plans that progress more or less without a hitch, I can also let go of those plans and enter triage mode when the moment calls for me to do so. So I could end this speech here. Make a plan, but be willing to adapt to changing circumstances. Be willing to enter triage mode. And that would be great advice for navigating your first semester at Swarthmore and really for navigating the rest of your life. But to do that would be to dismiss just exactly what is being presented to us each day. A global pandemic that has ravaged families, communities, healthcare systems, and economies. Daily protests within the US and globally that advocate for far-reaching change to the systems that continue to oppress people of color. And finally, an apparent turn away from the core principles that strengthen our communities, including thoughtful, respectful communication and intent listening. Okay. So let's recap what I've covered in these first 3 minutes. Make a plan, but be ready to change that plan so that you can respond to any one or all of a global pandemic, fighting for racial justice, and engaging in thoughtful discourse that will progress our communities toward a better future. Well, I don't know about you, but that sounds exhausting and overwhelming. That's a lot to process. That's a lot to confront and respond to each day. And now each of you will add to that all of the responsibilities that come with beginning your educational journey at Swarthmore. I promise there's an upside to this, just bear with me. The Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. once said, quote, "We must come to see that the end we seek is a society at peace with itself, a society that can live with its conscience," end quote. A few years ago, I was asked to speak at an event on campus to commemorate the 50th anniversary of Dr. King's death. As I prepared for that event, I returned to the full text of the speech from which this quote was lifted. I would like to read just 2 short excerpts from Dr. King's speech that have helped me throughout my adult life when I'm feeling exhausted and overwhelmed by providing the encouragement needed to tackle present and future challenges. After addressing those in attendance, Dr. King says, quote, "Last Sunday, more than 8,000 of us started on a mighty walk from Selma, Alabama. We have walked through desolate valleys and across the trying hills. We have walked on meandering highways and rested our bodies on rocky byways. Some of our faces are burned from the outpourings of the sweltering sun. Some have literally slept in the mud. We have been drenched by the rains. Our bodies are tired and our feet are somewhat sore. But today, as I stand before you and think back over that great march, I can say, as Sister Pollard said, a 70-year-old Negro woman who lived in this community during the bus boycott, and one day she was asked while walking if she didn't want to ride. And when she answered no, the person said, "Well, aren't you tired?" And with her ungrammatical profundity, she said, "My feet is tired, but my soul is rested." And in a real sense this afternoon, we can say that our feet are tired and our souls are rested, end quote. Later, Dr. King goes on to say that, quote, "The road ahead is not altogether a smooth one. There are no broad highways that lead us easily and inevitably to quick solutions, but we must keep going," end quote. And so it will be for you. Your path ahead at Swarthmore and in the life you will lead after will not be altogether smooth. You will not always be able to find quick solutions for the challenges you will face, but you must keep going. The question then becomes, how? Sure, you can be flexible and adapt to changing circumstances. That will certainly help you to keep going. But how will you withstand the fatigue of tackling the hurdles that will be placed in your path? Sister Pollard would tell you that if your soul is rested, then you won't be much bothered by how tired your feet become. I have taken great comfort in this idea over the past several months as I have engaged in many difficult conversations with friends, family, and members of the communities in which I exist regarding our collective response to the pandemic and issues related to racial justice. My feet have tired as I've worked to respond to the pandemic in my personal and professional life. Yet, my soul is rested knowing that I've done everything in my power to protect the lives of those around me and to provide the greatest gift I could ever give to you, a Swarthmore education. My feet have tired as I have shared painful stories of my personal experiences of racial injustice and as I've worked to change some of the broken systems in which I play a role. Yet, my soul is rested because while this work is not easy, it is just. I have approached this work with an intensity that has left my feet swollen and blistered. At times, I have needed friends and family to carry me for legs of this journey. At times, I have had to retreat altogether from the rocky road under a sweltering sun to rest my feet in the grass under a shade tree. At times, when I have felt rested, I have helped my friends and family on their own journeys. This is to say that you need not tackle the challenges you will face at Swarthmore and in life alone or without rest. And when you are rested, make time to help others. By beginning this journey at Swarthmore, you have already made a commitment to yourself to develop the skills you need to create a plan, adapt to changing circumstances, and to keep going, even as you face personal adversity or work to help our society overcome significant obstacles. You have made a commitment to the Swarthmore community to learn and grow together. You have made a commitment to allow your understanding of the world to be awakened through your academic work and through the rich interactions you will have with all members of this community. Your classmates, professors, instructors, deans, administrators, coaches, alumni, and our fantastic and treasured staff all across campus, grounds, facilities, EVS, dining services, and many more. In turn, you will find that the Swarthmore community has also made commitments to you. You will find classmates committed to your personal growth and success. You will find faculty and instructors committed to your development as a lifelong learner in the humanities, social sciences, and natural sciences. You will find deans and administrators committed to making sure you have the resources you need to thrive. You will find coaches committed to the development of your physical well-being. You will find alumni committed to mentoring you through your time at Swarthmore and as you transition into your professional life. You will find staff committed to making sure that you smile each and every day by sincerely asking, "How are you today?" And so, in closing, my advice to you is this: Take these next 4 years to figure out what sets your soul on fire and chart a path on that road no matter how bumpy or long it may be. Allow those around you to help you on the various legs of your journey. Take pit stops along the way when you become fatigued. Take detours along the way to help others. No matter the path you choose, keep going. Embrace the Swarthmore community fully. Learn from our values, our strengths, and even our flaws. These lessons will undoubtedly help you on your journey. And if you do this, then 4 years from now, instead of feeling overwhelmed and exhausted, you will instead feel rested and ready to begin the next leg of your personal journey. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Grace Dumda. I am part of the class of 2021, and I'm so grateful to be able to speak with you all today. Thank you, President Smith, for giving me the opportunity. You all look really great, really well rested, and I just want to say welcome to Swarthmore class of 2024. Congratulations on starting off your college career. I know this isn't the most ideal situation for anyone to be in, and the start of your college experience will basically be on a tiny computer screen in front of you. What is there to do? That's a question that's been constantly on everyone's minds these past 6 months. What is there to do? Well, at the beginning of this year, I was in the Czech Republic doing my semester abroad, just got my sea legs, just started making friends, just started getting a routine, and the coronavirus was on the peripheral of everything. Wasn't really worried about it until one day, everything changed, and the Czech Republic basically shut down all their schools, and my roommate actually fled the country in the middle of the night, and I woke up at 4 a.m. with a text that said, "Sorry, I had to leave really suddenly. I hope everything works out for you." And thanks to the Office of Study Abroad, everything did kind of work out for me, and I was back home in Louisiana in the span of like 24 hours. And that's where I am right now. I'm in my backyard in Louisiana, just waiting for Hurricane Laura to make landfall. I am here with my parents, and it's just me. I'm an only child. And these past 6 months, it's gotten really lonely. I'm not the best at keeping in touch with people, even my friends. If you text me, I'll probably respond in 2 to 3 business days. And I even have trouble keeping in touch with my best friend. But eventually we got on the phone and we talked about how we've been feeling at home. And we basically admitted to each other that we've been feeling really lonely. And we wondered why we felt so lonely when it's so easy to communicate with people more than ever because of the internet. Like, there's never been a pandemic while we've had internet, and we are more connected than we could have possibly been at any other point in time. But we have trouble reaching out to each other because we feel like we can do everything on ourselves and get through this alone. And we wondered why it's so embarrassing to admit that you're lonely when everyone feels lonely to an extent. I thought about this beyond the scope of this phone call. I kept thinking about what it means to feel lonely and what it means to be alone. In America, we are raised to have pride in being independent, and we are all individuals, and we build ourselves up to be so unique from everyone else. I'm sure that you're familiar with that sense of individualism because it's so present in the college application process, because you're trying to set yourself apart from everyone, and you're all fighting for this one spot at this one school. But you got that spot now, and you're here watching this video. What is there to do? Well, I think it's time to focus on bringing all these super unique individuals together and really emphasize community building. It's time to focus on a new sense of collectivism. Individualism is a fairly new concept. It's a Western tradition brought about by capitalism. But for so much of our history, humanity has powered through the toughest situations by banding together and taking care of each other and establishing community. We need each other, and we honestly do better together. And we know this. Every team building activity that you do in orientation is trying to get you to form these connections with each other so that we feel supported and we feel like we're part of something greater than us. And we all are part of something greater than us. We're part of a pandemic that's affecting every single human being on this planet. Now the challenge this semester is going to be forming these bonds while we're socially distanced, staring at each other remotely on a laptop screen. But it's possible. During these past few months, we've seen people across the world come together in different capacities, but mostly to survive. We've got scientists all over the world working together, sharing information with each other to work on a vaccine for the coronavirus. We are witness to the largest civil rights movement ever because of people's willingness to unite and care for each other and using our privilege to care for those who are less privileged. And even looking at the roots of why there is a need for a civil rights movement, it's because there's been a consistent lack of empathy for each other, for another human being, and a lack of care and accountability. So going into the school year, it's time to take care of each other, and it's time to push yourself to reach out to a person that you've never talked to before, to form a bond, because you know when this is all over, we're hopefully going to be back on campus, and you want to feel that sense of community. You want to feel that you're being taken care of. And we need to remember that every little thing that we do to show that we care or just demonstrate that we are here for someone is contributing towards the common good. Now, I'm looking forward to meeting all of you virtually or in real life, and I hope we all find motivation within ourselves to remember that every little thing that we do this semester affects each other, and we could be saving a life just by keeping each other accountable and checking in with each other, because it's more important now than ever, and it's time for us to think outside the box on how to care for each other. Now, I hope you all have a wonderful orientation and kind of settle in to your little rhythms really quickly. And I can't wait to get to know you. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Bohee Yoon, class of 2001, and I'm the president of Swarthmore's Alumni Council. All former students automatically become members of Swarthmore's Alumni Association, so as long as you log on for your first class, I'm thrilled to welcome you to the supportive and amazing alumni community. Swarthmore teaches us to think critically and to look past the surface. And it also encourages deep conversations and relationship building. Swarthmore nurtures us to really learn each other's stories. When I arrived at Swarthmore on my first day, I was surprised and intimidated by the amazing diversity of all of my classmates. And I couldn't imagine being close with people who were so different from me. But we were lucky enough to spend so much time learning together, living together, and growing together, and earning those stories from one another. And soon, I couldn't imagine my life without my amazing new friends. There's the family that raises you and the family that you choose. Swarthmore helps you lay the foundation for the family that you choose. I remember all those wonderful late-night chats in my dorm room, lingering over dinner with a table full of friends, whispering with each other in McCabe instead of reading, and dancing together like nobody was watching at every single party. I remember the absolute joy we felt for each other when one of us succeeded. And I also remember the dark times, the tears, the insecurities, and feeling as though I didn't belong here. Through the deliciously wonderful times and all of the challenging times, the members of my close-knit Swarthmore family have been there for me, and we have lifted and supported each other and built trust. And they carried me across the finish line to graduation during my parents' sudden divorce. In between the papers, the parties, and the protests, we had created our family. Right after we graduated, we lived busy lives and started to spread out across the country and the globe with new jobs and new graduate schools, and we did our best to stay in contact and to travel to see each other whenever we could. We talked on the phone all the time, and it almost felt as though we were still all together at Swarthmore, sharing each day. Fast forward almost 20 years to just before COVID. We were working our butts off in our various careers, welcoming new members into our individual families and into our collective family. We were busy lawyers, historians, doctors, writers, and political gurus. And we didn't get to see or speak with each other as much as we used to, and we kept postponing plans to travel together. But we loved each other as much as we always had, and we looked forward to recreating Swarthmore again, especially when we all move into the same retirement community whenever that time comes. And I guess that was enough for us to get by. With the COVID pandemic and ongoing violence against Black lives, however, all the background noise has faded, and we are holding our families a little closer. I suddenly find myself at home 24 hours a day, with a bit more time to reflect, and a bit more time to get deep with my Swarthmore family again. My evenings, usually reserved for networking and post-work drinks and dinners, are now filled with rich Zoom and FaceTime sessions with my Swarthmore family. From sharing notes on how to support Black Lives Matter and screaming about the upcoming elections to extremely spirited game nights, competing over the creative things we are cooking in our air fryers and discussing the wonderful books we're reading. and of course at all times, debating all things. Despite all the horrible and disheartening things that are happening in the world, and the feeling that we are pumping the brakes on our respective careers at a critical time, I realize that we have managed to create Swarthmore with each other again. That being quarantined and limited to only seeing each other on screens has actually brought our Swarthmore family closer together. During COVID, it will be more difficult for all of you to take advantage of the natural settings that we had, like late night dorm room chats, lingering over dinner, or dancing at all those parties. To build trust with each other and to nurture those relationships. But Swaties are resilient and innovative and always up for a challenge. So I challenge you. I challenge you to be resilient and innovative and to be ingenious and create wonderful ways to nurture your Swarthmore relationships. Because you're not here just for the highest quality academic education, but also to seek and build the family that you choose. And we are so thrilled that you have chosen to become a part of ours. Thank you.
I want to thank our wonderful speakers today. On Saturday, we will come together again for the closing of orientation for our first collection. And you will have your own opportunity to begin your own share your own reflections on these queries. We will conclude our program with the way we began, with a moment of silence. Please join me in a moment of silence. Thank you, and that concludes our time together today.